The conference room floated in space, a massive crystal structure that orbited nothing. Inside, 12 species sat in a circle, and every single one of them was terrified. Ambassador Thelkor pressed his crystalline hands together. His body shimmered with fear, colors shifting from calm blue to anxious purple. Around the table, the other representatives looked just as worried. The Mindari kept their thoughts shielded, something they only did in the worst situations. The Velcros, who had lived for thousands of years, stared at the holographic display with eyes that had seen empires rise and fall. The display showed 17 red dots, 17 worlds gone silent in the past month. "We have lost Thalmenos," the Velcros representative said quietly. Her voice carried the weight of ages. 3 billion souls. Gone in 48 hours, nobody spoke. What could they say? Thalmenos had been one of their fortress worlds, protected by shield generators that could stop a supernova. The Devourers had eaten through them like they were paper. Thelkor stood up slowly. His species had been exploring space for 12,000 years. They had seen wars, plagues, and natural disasters. But nothing like this. The Devourers were different. They did not want territory or resources or power. They just wanted to consume everything living. "We need to discuss retreat," he said. The words tasted like poison in his mouth. The room exploded with voices. The Mindari representative, a being of pure thought wearing a mechanical body, stood up sharply. "Retreat? We abandon billions to die." "They are already dead," Thelkor said quietly. "Every simulation shows the same result. We cannot win with conventional warfare. The Devourers adapt too quickly. Their swarm tactics overwhelm our defenses. Our quantum weapons barely slow them down." A younger delegate, a Zaref with green scales, slammed his hand on the table. "Then we fight anyway. We do not run." "Fighting without hope is not bravery," Thelkor replied. "It is suicide. We must preserve what we can and rebuild in the Outer Rim. Perhaps in 1,000 years we can return." The Velcros elder raised one hand and silence fell. She had authority that came from living through 3 galactic cycles. "There may be one option we have not considered." Everyone turned to look at her. "The humans," she said. Several delegates laughed. A few others looked confused. Thelkor felt his colors shift to surprised yellow. "The humans?" he repeated. "The primitives from Sol System? They are not as primitive as we assumed," the Velcros elder said. "They have been in space for only 600 years, true, but they have spread to 40 systems. They have fought 3 civil wars and survived 2 extinction-level events on their homeworld. They are aggressive, adaptable, and they do not think like us." A Mindari spoke up, her mental voice carrying skepticism. "They use chemical rockets and kinetic weapons. Their ships are slow and crude. What could they possibly do that we cannot?" The Velcros elder brought up a new hologram. It showed a human warship, ugly and blocky compared to the elegant curves of council vessels. 6 months ago, human colony ships encountered a Devourer scout swarm near the frontier. The colony was doomed, but the humans did something unexpected. They filled their cargo ships with nuclear waste and antimatter cores, then crashed them into the swarm at full speed. They lost 3,000 colonists, but they killed the entire swarm. Silence fell again. Thelkor felt something cold run through him. "They sacrificed themselves. Without hesitation?" "Without hesitation," the elder confirmed. "And then they sent a message to their homeworld. Not a cry for help. A warning. They told Earth where the Devourers came from and how to kill them. Their last words were recorded." The colony leader said, "Tell them we took some bastards with us." The Zaref delegate leaned forward. "That is insane." "Yes," the Velcros elder agreed. "But perhaps insanity is what we need. We have fought this war with logic and strategy and honor. We have lost every battle. The humans do not fight with honor. They fight to win no matter the cost." Thelkor thought about this. His species valued life above all else. They calculated acceptable losses and retreat thresholds. They fought wars the way civilized beings should fight them. But they were losing. Maybe civilization was a luxury they could no longer afford. "What do we know about human military capability?" he asked. The Velcros elder pulled up more data. "Their weapons are primitive but effective. Railguns that fire solid metal at incredible speeds, missiles with fusion warheads, laser batteries. Nothing sophisticated but deployed in overwhelming numbers. Their ships have thick armor instead of energy shields. They build redundancy into every system. A human warship can lose half its functions and still fight." "What about their tactics?" a Mindari asked. "Brutal," the elder said simply. "They do not seek elegant solutions. If a problem exists, they throw resources at it until it breaks. They accept casualties that would make any of us surrender. In their last civil war, they lost 40 million soldiers. Both sides kept fighting for 3 more years. Thelcor felt sick. 40 million dead, and they continued? What kind of species did that? There is something else, the Velcros elder said. She pulled up a human transmission, audio only. This was broadcast from Earth when they learned about the Devourer threat. It was addressed to their entire species. A human voice filled the room, speaking in their harsh language. The translator made it understandable. Attention, human space. The galaxy is at war. Hostile forces are consuming worlds. The Galactic Council is losing. They have not asked for our help. They probably think we are too primitive to matter. So here is what we are going to do. We mobilize. Every ship, every soldier, every resource. We are going to war. Not because anyone asked us. Not because we will get anything in return. But because someone has to fight. And we are really, really good at fighting. The recording ended. Thelcor stared at the space where the sound had been. They want to fight? He asked quietly. Nobody asked them, and they want to fight anyway. That is what the transmission says, the Velcros elder confirmed. Human ships are already moving toward council space. They will arrive in 2 weeks, whether we invite them or not. The delegates looked at each other. This was unprecedented. Species did not volunteer for wars that were not theirs. They did not rush toward danger. They did not speak with such absolute certainty about fighting. Thelcor made a decision. It might be the wrong one. It might doom them all, but doing nothing had already doomed them. We vote, he said. Do we accept human assistance? The vote was close. 7 species voted yes. 4 voted no. 1 abstained. It passed. Thelcor composed a message to Earth. He tried to be diplomatic, to not sound desperate. He asked for auxiliary support and suggested humans could help with supply lines. The human response came back in 6 hours. It was brief, received. We will do more than support. Send us the coordinates of your front line. We will be there in 2 weeks. Hold on. Humanity is coming. Thelcor read the message 3 times. Then he looked at the holographic display showing the advancing Devourer swarms. 17 worlds lost, maybe soon to be 18, 19, 20. Hold on, he whispered to himself. I hope you are right, humans. I hope you are right. 2 weeks later, the galaxy would learn what humans meant when they said they were good at fighting. The Devourers were about to learn something they had never encountered before. Prey that fought back. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UESF Hammer and read the council message for the 3rd time. Her crew waited quietly, watching her face. They want us to provide auxiliary support, she said finally. Her voice was flat. They suggest we help with supply lines and logistics. Her tactical officer, Lieutenant Rodriguez, snorted. Auxiliary support? They are losing the war and they want us to carry boxes? Sarah crumpled the message display and tossed it aside. She had been in the Space Force for 20 years. She had fought pirates, stopped 3 colony rebellions, and once held off a hostile fleet for 6 hours with a single destroyer. She knew what desperation looked like. The council message reeked of it even while trying to sound superior. Send a response, she said. Tell them we will do more than support. Ask for coordinates of their front line. Tell them we are coming. How many ships do we bring? Rodriguez asked. Sarah looked at the tactical display. The human fleet had assembled in high orbit around Luna. 60 warships ranging from massive battle cruisers to quick destroyers. Every single one built for one purpose, combat. No elegant curves or pretty colors. Just armor, weapons, and engines, all of them, Sarah said. We bring everything. The bridge crew exchanged glances. Taking the entire fleet meant leaving human space undefended. But they all knew the truth. If the Devourers won this war, there would be no safe space anywhere. Destination is Thalmeno system, Rodriguez said, pulling up the data. The council has a fleet there making a last stand. They are requesting immediate assistance. How long to get there? 2 weeks at maximum burn, Sarah nodded. Then we leave in 6 hours. Send word to all ships. Battle protocols. Full ammunition load. And somebody find me everything we know about these Devourer things. The information came quickly. The Devourers were a hive mind species. Thousands of individual creatures, all controlled by a central intelligence. They swarmed targets, overwhelming defenses with sheer numbers. They could adapt to energy weapons after a few encounters. They consumed all biological matter and most resources. They could not be negotiated with. They could not be reasoned with. They only knew how to eat and grow. Sarah read through the tactical analysis prepared by Council forces. Energy shields failed quickly. Quantum weapons were ineffective after initial contact. Precision strikes did nothing to the swarm. Every Council strategy focused on elegant solutions and minimal casualties. They fight like they are afraid to die, she muttered. Rodriguez looked up. Captain? The Council. Look at their tactics. Every plan has exit strategies. Every engagement has acceptable loss limits. They fight like they are trying not to lose instead of trying to win. And we fight different? Rodriguez asked, though he already knew the answer. Sarah smiled grimly. We fight like we have something to prove. Prepare the fleet. I want every ship armed with everything we have. Railguns, missiles, lasers, plasma charges. If we run out of ammunition, we will throw rocks. If we run out of rocks, we will ram them. The crew nodded. This was the human way. When diplomacy failed, you fought. When fighting seemed hopeless, you fought harder. 2 weeks later, the human fleet arrived at Thalmanos. The system was a war zone. A Velcross defensive fleet, 20 ships, fought desperately against a devourer swarm. The swarm looked like a living cloud, thousands of creatures moving together in perfect coordination. The Velcro ships fired elegant energy beams that carved through dozens of creatures at a time. But for every one that died, 3 more took its place. Sarah watched the battle on her display. The Velcros were losing. Their shields flickered under constant assault. 2 ships had already fallen, consumed by the swarm in minutes. Open a channel to the Velcros, Commander, she ordered. The alien face that appeared looked ancient and tired. Human vessel, this is Admiral Kethran. I appreciate your arrival, but you should retreat. This battle is lost. Save yourselves. Negative, Sarah said calmly. We came to fight. Tell your ships to fall back. We are going in. Kethran looked confused. You cannot charge the swarm directly. They will overwhelm you. You need strategy, careful positioning, coordinated fire patterns. Sarah smiled, and there was no warmth in it. Admiral, humans have been fighting wars since before we discovered fire. We know exactly one strategy that works against overwhelming numbers. We hit them harder than they hit us. Now get your ships clear. She cut the channel before he could argue. All ships, she broadcast to the human fleet. Weapons free. Target the thickest part of the swarm. Load nuclear warheads. Set railguns to maximum rate of fire. When we run out of missiles, switch to kinetic rounds. When we run out of kinetic rounds, ram anything still moving. Today we show these things what happens when they pick a fight with Earth. The human fleet accelerated forward. No fancy formations. No elegant maneuvers. Just 60 warships charging straight at the swarm. The devourers saw them coming and shifted their attention. Thousands of creatures turned as one, flowing toward the new threat. Fire, Sarah said quietly. The human fleet opened up with everything. Railguns threw tungsten rods at incredible speeds. Each rod hit with the force of a small bomb. The missiles came next, hundreds of them, streaking across space. The devourers tried to intercept them, but there were too many. Nuclear fireballs bloomed in the darkness, vaporizing devourer creatures by the dozens. The swarm tried to adapt, spreading out to reduce casualties. The human ships adjusted instantly, focusing fire on clusters. Laser batteries swept through the swarm like scythes. Plasma charges created walls of superheated energy that cooked anything that touched them. The devourers had never encountered this before. The Council species fought with precision and elegance. Humans fought with overwhelming firepower and absolute aggression. Where a Council ship would fire calculated shots, a human destroyer would empty its entire magazine in seconds. Sarah watched her ammunition counter drop rapidly. The Hammer had 42 nuclear missiles when the battle started. Now it had 12. Her railguns were down to 60% ammunition. But the swarm was breaking. Thousands of devourer corpses floated in space. The creatures were pulling back, trying to regroup. Do not let them reorganize, Sarah ordered. All ships pursue. Keep firing. The human fleet pushed deeper into the swarm. 3 destroyers took heavy damage. The UESF Relentless lost its main engines and started drifting. Sarah saw the ship's captain make a decision in real time. The Relentless turned its remaining thrusters to full power and aimed at the densest cluster of devourers. Relentless, what are you doing? Sarah demanded. The captain's face appeared on screen. He was young, maybe 30. Completing the mission, sir. All crew evacuating now. Tell my family I love them. The Relentless accelerated into the swarm. Its fusion reactor went critical 5 seconds before impact. The explosion took out 1,000 devourer creatures and punched a hole in the swarm formation. Sarah felt something cold in her chest. But she did not stop. Could not stop. "Continue the assault," she ordered. Her voice did not shake. The battle lasted 6 more hours. When it ended, the devourer swarm was destroyed. Every single creature dead. The Velcros defensive fleet was saved. The cost showed on Sarah's display. The humans lost 18 ships. 5,000 crew members dead. Another 2,000 injured. Ammunition stores down to 20%. Admiral Kethran's face appeared on screen again. He looked shocked. "You saved us. But at such cost. So many of your people died." Sarah looked at him calmly. "Yes, they did their duty. How can you be so calm?" "You lost thousands." "We lost 5,000, Sarah corrected. The Devourers were killing billions. We consider that a victory." Kethran stared at her like she was insane. Maybe she was. Maybe all humans were, but they had won. "Where is the next fight?" Sarah asked. The Admiral took a long moment to answer. 3 systems away, but you need time to repair, to resupply." "We will resupply after the next battle," Sarah said. "Send us the coordinates." As the human fleet prepared to move out, Sarah looked at the casualty list. 5,000 names, 5,000 people who would never go home. She read every single name. It took an hour. She owed them that much, then she turned to her crew. "Set course for the next target. We have a war to win." The galaxy was learning something new. Humans did not fight fair. They did not fight carefully. They fought to win no matter what it cost. And somehow, impossibly, they were winning. General Marcus Webb stood in the command center and studied the holographic map. Red markers showed Devourer positions. Blue markers showed Allied forces. There was a lot more red than blue. Around him, representatives from 12 species watched nervously. They had asked Earth to send a military commander to coordinate the defense. Webb had arrived 3 days ago. Now he was proposing something that made every alien in the room uncomfortable. "We attack here," Webb said, pointing to a cluster of red markers deep in enemy territory. "The Krell Nebula. Intelligence suggests this is their main staging ground. We hit it hard, we cripple their ability to launch new attacks." Ambassador Thelcor's crystalline body flickered through several colors before settling on worried purple. "General Webb, the Krell Nebula is behind their lines. The route passes through radiation storms and spatial anomalies. Our simulations show 90% casualties." Webb nodded. "Simulations also showed we would lose Thalmenos. But we won. Simulations do not account for human stubbornness." A Mindari commander spoke up, her mental voice careful. "General, we appreciate human courage. But this is not courage. This is suicide." "Maybe," Webb agreed. "But right now we are playing defense. We wait for them to attack, then we react. That is how you lose a war. We need to make them react to us. Hit them where it hurts." The Velcro's Admiral Kethran, who had fought alongside Sarah Chen at Thalmenos, leaned forward. "Even if we survive the journey, we do not have enough firepower to destroy a staging ground of that size." Webb smiled. It was not a nice smile. "Then we improvise. That is what humans do best." The meeting continued for hours. Webb listened to every objection, considered every concern, and dismissed most of them. Finally, he stood up and made his decision clear. "We launch in 48 hours. Bring every ship that can fight. Load every weapon you have, and prepare yourselves, because this will be the hardest battle any of us have ever fought." The council members left looking worried. Only Kethran stayed behind. "You truly believe we can win this?" the old Velcros asked. Webb was quiet for a moment. "I believe we have to try. Every day we wait, they get stronger. Every world they take, they grow. We are running out of time, so yes, we attack, and we pray to whatever gods are listening that we survive." 2 days later, the combined fleet assembled. Human ships formed the core, ugly and brutal-looking. Council vessels surrounded them, elegant but fragile. In total, 300 ships prepared to jump into hell. Webb stood on the bridge of the UESF Warhammer, the newest battlecruiser in the human fleet. His tactical officer ran final checks. "All ships report ready, sir." "Then let us go to war," Webb said quietly. The jump took them directly into the Krell Nebula. Immediately, everything went wrong. Radiation levels spiked. Navigation systems glitched. 3 council ships collided because their sensors could not penetrate the interference. A human destroyer lost its main reactor and had to be abandoned. And then the Devourers attacked. They came from all directions, thousands of creatures swarming through the nebula. The swarm was larger than anything the Allies had faced before. Webb watched his displays fill with red contacts. All ships, weapons free, form defensive clusters. Human vessels provide covering fire for Council ships. The battle was chaos. The radiation made targeting difficult. Missiles went off course. Energy weapons scattered unpredictably. The Devourers used the environment perfectly, striking from blind spots and disappearing into the dense nebula clouds. A human cruiser exploded. Then another. A Zarthi ship lost all power and drifted helplessly before being consumed. The casualties mounted rapidly. Webb made a decision. All human vessels activate Plan Omega. His tactical officer looked at him with wide eyes. Sir, Plan Omega was theoretical. We never tested it in combat. Then we test it now. Activate. Throughout the human fleet, ships initiated their final protocol. They vented their fuel reserves in controlled bursts, creating massive clouds of ignitable gas. Then they fired incendiary rounds into the clouds. The Krell Nebula turned into a firestorm. The exploding fuel clouds created shockwaves that disrupted the Devourer swarm. Creatures caught in the flames died by the hundreds. The surviving Devourers panicked, breaking formation. All ships advance, Webb ordered. Hit them while they are scattered. The Allied fleet pushed forward. The Council commanders were learning. A Mindari captain used Webb's strategy, venting her ship's coolant system and freezing a section of the swarm. A Zareth destroyer rammed a cluster of Devourers, its crew evacuating seconds before impact. But the humans pushed hardest. They had named their strategy months ago back on Earth. They called it total commitment warfare. When you entered a battle, you committed everything. No reserves, no retreat plans. You fought until you won or until you died. The UESF Defiant was the first human ship to reach the staging ground. A massive structure, organic and pulsing, floated at the nebula's heart. It was building new Devourers, growing them like a factory grew machines. Target acquired, the Defiant's captain broadcast. Beginning attack run. The Defiant emptied its entire arsenal at the structure. Nuclear warheads, railgun volleys, plasma charges, everything the structure's shields held. The Defiant did not slow down. Ramming speed, the captain said calmly. All hands abandon ship. The crew evacuated in escape pods. The Defiant, piloted by its AI, accelerated to maximum velocity. It hit the structure at a significant fraction of light speed. The kinetic energy alone would have destroyed a planet. The structure broke apart, its shields collapsing. 3 more human ships followed. They rammed the dying structure from different angles. By the time they finished, the staging ground was debris. Webb watched it all happen. His face was stone. He did not cheer. Did not celebrate. He counted the cost. 4 ships lost in the final attack, 23 more destroyed in the fighting. 30,000 crew members dead, but they had won. The Devourer reinforcements stopped coming. Without their staging ground, they could not build new swarms. The war was not over, but the tide had turned. As the surviving ships limped back to friendly territory, Webb received a message from Earth. High Command wanted a full report. They wanted to know if the casualties were acceptable. Webb looked at the casualty list. 30,000 names, 30,000 people who trusted him to lead them into battle. He had led them into death. He sent his report. It was brief. Mission successful. Enemy staging ground destroyed. Casualties were necessary. We did what had to be done. 3 days later, he met with the Council representatives again. They looked at him differently now. Not with dismissal or condescension, with something closer to fear and respect. Your tactics are effective, Thelkor said carefully, but they are brutal. You spend lives like currency. Webb nodded slowly. Yes, we do. Because the alternative is losing everyone. Would you rather we fight carefully and lose, or fight hard and win? The ambassador had no answer. The Devourers do not care about honor, Webb continued. They do not care about rules of war. They only understand strength. So we show them strength. We show them that every world they attack will cost them dearly. We show them that humanity does not break. A young Zareth officer stood up. General Webb, my people have been warriors for 5,000 years. But we have never fought like humans. Can you teach us? Webb looked around the room. Every species watched him now. Waiting. I can teach you, he said finally. But understand this. Fighting the human way means accepting terrible costs. It means making choices that will haunt you. It means sending people to die and living with that weight. Are you ready for that? Silence filled the room. Then one by one they nodded. Over the following weeks, human tactics spread through the Allied forces. Human combat engineers taught alien species how to weaponize their environment. Human Marines demonstrated urban warfare, showing how to fight in ruins and wreckage. Human strategists shared their philosophy: hit hard, hit fast, and never stop hitting. The galaxy was learning to fight dirty, and the Devourers for the first time were learning to lose. But the war was far from over. The hardest battles still waited ahead. Webb knew that. Every night he read casualty reports. Every night he added more names to the list of people he had sent to die. He told himself it was necessary. He told himself they were winning. Some nights he almost believed it, but he never stopped reading the names. He owed them that much. Every single one. The war dragged on for 18 months. 18 months of constant fighting, of worlds burned and ships lost. 18 months of humanity bleeding itself dry to save a galaxy that had once called them primitive. Earth's population had dropped by 2 billion people. Some died in combat. Others volunteered for suicide missions. Thousands more perished when colony worlds fell before evacuations could finish. The home world was quieter now. Fewer voices, fewer lights at night. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of her new flagship, the UESF Indomitable, her third command. The Hammer had been destroyed at the Battle of Vortan Ridge. The Relentless II lasted 6 months before a Devourer swarm tore it apart. Now she commanded Indomitable, and she wondered how long it would survive. Behind her, the door opened. She did not turn around. She knew the footsteps. "You should be sleeping," General Webb said quietly. "So should you," Sarah replied. Webb moved to stand beside her. Together they looked out at the fleet. What was left of it? Humanity had started the war with 300 warships. Now they had 97. The Council species had lost even more. "Did you see the report from New Terra?" Webb asked. Sarah nodded. New Terra was a human colony world, population 8 million. The Devourers had attacked 3 days ago. The defense fleet held them off long enough for 4 million people to evacuate. The other 4 million chose to stay. They weaponized the entire colony, turning buildings into bombs and streets into traps. When the Devourers landed, New Terra became a death trap. The defenders fought for 60 hours. None survived. But they took a Devourer battle swarm with them. "They were children," Sarah said quietly. Some of those volunteers were 16 years old. Too young to legally join the military, but old enough to die for it. Webb said nothing. What could he say? He had approved the defensive plan. He had known children would die, and he had let it happen because it was necessary. "Do you ever wonder if we are the monsters now?" Sarah asked. "We have done things in this war that would have horrified us before. We sacrifice civilians. We use weapons that cause incredible suffering. We have become as ruthless as the Devourers. The difference is we can stop," Webb said. "When this war ends, if we win, we can choose to be better. The Devourers do not have that choice. They are what they are. We do what we must." Sarah turned to look at him. "And what if we cannot stop? What if we have changed too much?" Webb had no answer for that. He feared she might be right. The next morning, Sarah was summoned to a council meeting. She went reluctantly. These meetings always meant more bad news or impossible requests. She found the council chamber different than before. More humans present now, more respect in the alien faces. They had earned that through blood. Thelkor stood at the center. His crystalline body had fractures now, stress damage from too many battles. "Admiral Chen, we have a situation." The hologram appeared. A Devourer fleet, massive beyond comprehension, was gathering at the edge of known space. Thousands of ships, millions of creatures, all moving toward the galactic core. "They are preparing a final assault," Thelkor continued. "If they reach the core worlds, everything ends. We need to stop them." Sarah studied the display. The numbers were impossible. The Allied fleet could not win this fight. Simple math said so. "How long do we have?" she asked. 6 weeks until they begin their assault." "Then we use that time to evacuate," Sarah said. "Get as many people off the core worlds as possible. When the Devourers arrive, we make them pay for every meter of space." "That is not a plan," a Mindari commander objected. "That is delaying defeat." "You have a better idea?" Sarah shot back. "We are outnumbered 10 to 1. We do not have enough ships. We do not have enough ammunition. So we do what we can. We save who we can, and we hurt them as badly as possible. The room fell silent. Then a young human officer stood up. Sergeant Tom Reeves, transferred from the Marines to act as a tactical advisor. We are thinking about this wrong, Reeves said. Everyone turned to look at him. He looked nervous but continued. We keep trying to fight the swarm, but the swarm is not the enemy. The hive mind is, the queen that controls them all. We know where she is now. That fleet is protecting her, so we do not fight the fleet. We kill the queen. Admiral Kethron shook his head. Impossible. To reach the queen, we would have to penetrate their entire defensive formation. We would lose everything before getting close. Then we make them think we are trying to fight the fleet, Reeves said. We stage a massive assault on one side. Draw all their attention there. Meanwhile, a small strike team goes in the back door. 10 ships, fast ones. Load them with everything we have and send them straight at the queen. That is suicide, Thelkor said flatly. Yes, sir, it is, Reeves agreed. But if we kill the queen, the hive mind collapses. Every devourer in the galaxy dies instantly. We trade 10 ships for total victory. Sarah looked at the young sergeant. He could not be more than 25 years old, and he was calmly proposing a suicide mission. You understand what you are suggesting? She asked quietly. 10 ships, 50,000 crew members. None of them would come home. Yes, ma'am, Reeves said. I understand. And I volunteer to be on one of those ships. The room erupted in conversation. The alien commanders debated the plan. Some called it brilliant. Others called it insane. Sarah listened to them all and made her decision. We do it, she said. Her voice cut through the noise. We use Sergeant Reeves's plan. I will lead the strike force personally. You cannot, Webb objected. You are too valuable. Then who should I send to die in my place? Sarah asked. I have ordered too many people to sacrifice themselves. If this is what needs to be done, I will do it myself. They argued for an hour. In the end, Sarah got her way. The council approved the mission. The strike force would launch in 5 weeks. Word spread quickly through the fleet. Admiral Chen was leading a suicide mission to kill the Devourer Queen. Volunteers flooded in. 50,000 positions, 500,000 applications. Everyone wanted to go. Everyone wanted to be part of the final attack. Sarah interviewed them personally. She told each one exactly what they were volunteering for. You will not come home, she said again and again. You understand that? This is a one-way trip. Every single one of them said yes. She chose the best, the bravest, the most skilled. She built her strike force from veterans and volunteers. 10 ships, 50,000 of humanity's finest, and a few hundred alien crew members who insisted on coming along. A Zarthi engineer named Velthar explained why he volunteered. My world was one of the first to fall. The Devourers took everything. My family, my friends, everyone I loved. I have nothing left but revenge. Let me help you deliver it. Sarah could not say no to that. The 5 weeks passed too quickly. Sarah spent them preparing. She recorded messages for Earth. She made her will. She wrote letters to the families of her crew, to be delivered after the mission ended. On the last night, Webb found her in her quarters. You do not have to do this, he said. Let someone else lead. I do have to, Sarah replied. I have spent 2 years sending people to die. The least I can do is die with them. Webb hugged her. They had never been friends, not really. But they understood each other. Both carried the weight of command. Both lived with the guilt of survival. Give them hell, Webb said finally. That is the plan, Sarah smiled. The next morning, the strike force launched, 10 ships moving fast and quiet. Behind them, the rest of the fleet prepared for the diversion attack. Sarah stood on the bridge of Indomitable and looked at her crew. We all know what we are here to do. We kill the Queen, we end this war, and we make damn sure every devourer in the galaxy knows they made a mistake when they came to our part of space. Today we show them what happens when they mess with Earth. The crew cheered. They knew they were going to die. They did not care. They were humanity, and humanity did not quit. The strike force headed toward the Devourer fleet, toward certain death, toward victory or extinction. Sarah watched the distance counter drop and smiled. She was ready. The galaxy was about to learn the most important lesson about humans. They did not just fight to win. They fought so the next generation would not have to. The diversion fleet attacked at dawn, 1,000 ships screaming toward the Devourer formation with every weapon blazing. It was glorious and terrible. General Webb commanded from the rear, watching his forces throw themselves at an enemy that outnumbered them completely. The Devourers took the bait. Their entire fleet shifted to meet the attack. Millions of creatures swarmed toward the Allied forces. The battle was chaos. Ships exploded. Weapons fire lit up the darkness. It was the biggest battle in galactic history, and it was all a trick. While the Devourers focused on the frontal assault, Admiral Sarah Chen's strike force moved in from behind. 10 ships flying silent and dark. They navigated through debris fields and radiation clouds hiding from sensors. Target in range, her tactical officer reported. We have visual on the Queen's ship. Sarah looked at the display. The Devourer Queen's vessel was enormous, organic, and pulsing with life. It sat at the center of the fleet, protected by layers of defenders. But most of those defenders had moved to fight Webb's diversion. All ships, weapons hot. Prepare for final attack run. Her crew moved with practiced efficiency. They had trained for this mission for 5 weeks. They knew their roles. They knew they were not coming home. Sergeant Reeves, who had proposed this plan, stood at the weapons console. He looked calm. Virus payload loaded and ready, Admiral. We just need to get close enough to deliver it. The virus had been humanity's secret weapon. Scientists had spent months analyzing captured devourer tissue. They found the connection to the hive mind, the biological network that linked every creature to the Queen, and they built a virus that could turn that connection into a weapon. Once inside the Queen, it would spread through the entire hive mind, killing every devourer in the galaxy. But first, they had to deliver it, and that meant getting into point-blank range of the most heavily defended target in the universe. Execute attack run, Sarah ordered. The 10 ships accelerated. They broke from cover and charged the Queen's vessel. Immediately, Devourer defenders noticed them. Thousands of creatures broke off from the main battle and swarmed toward the strike force. Point defense, fire at will. Do not let them slow us down. The ship's automated weapons opened up. Laser batteries swept through the swarm. Missiles detonated in clusters. But there were too many Devourers. They crashed against the ship's hulls, tearing at armor plating. The UESF Revenge lost its engines and started drifting. Its captain did not hesitate. Ramming speed. Give them something to remember us by. The Revenge turned toward the nearest Devourer cluster and detonated its reactor. The explosion took out hundreds of creatures and cleared a path for the other ships. 9 ships remaining, the tactical officer reported. His voice was steady despite the chaos. More Devourers came. They swarmed the UESF Valiant, covering it completely. The ship disappeared under a mass of writhing creatures. It fired its weapons until the last second, killing Devourers even as they tore it apart. 8 ships remaining. Sarah watched her force die. Each ship that fell meant 5,000 crew members gone. People she had chosen personally. People who trusted her. But she could not stop. Would not stop. Keep going. Do not slow down for anything. The UESF Warrior took catastrophic damage. Its hull breached in a dozen places. The captain ordered evacuation, but half the crew could not reach the escape pods in time. The ship broke apart, spilling bodies into space. 7 ships remaining, they were close now. The Queen's vessel filled the view screen. Sarah could see its organic surface pulsing and alive. It was beautiful in a terrible way. More Devourer defenders appeared, a fresh swarm, 1,000 strong. They had been held in reserve for exactly this situation. We cannot fight through them all, the tactical officer said. We need to thin their numbers. All ships except Indomitable, Sarah broadcast. Defensive formation. Hold them back. Indomitable goes through alone. Admiral, you cannot do this by yourself, a captain protested. I'm not asking permission, Sarah said quietly. I am giving an order. Hold them off. 6 ships moved into formation around Indomitable. They formed a wall of armor and weapons between Sarah's ship and the swarm. Then they opened fire with everything they had. The UESF Defiance was first to fall, then the Retribution, then the Guardian. One by one, the ships died, each one fighting to the last shot, giving Indomitable more time, more distance. Sarah watched them die and kept flying forward. Her ship shook as Devourers crashed against the hull. Alarms blared. Systems failed, but the engines held. They kept flying. The last escort ship, the UESF Liberty, was commanded by an old friend. Captain Michael Torres had served with Sarah for 15 years. They had fought together, bled together, survived impossible battles together. Sarah, His voice crackled over the comm. "It has been an honor." Michael, no, but Torres was already moving. The Liberty turned hard and positioned itself between Indomitable and the swarm. It fired every weapon, creating a wall of explosions. Then Torres detonated his reactor. The blast cleared the path. Indomitable flew through the flames and emerged on the other side. "Clear space ahead. Just the Queen's vessel and nothing between them." "Final approach," Sarah said. Her voice cracked. She cleared her throat. "Sergeant Reeves, prepare the virus payload." "Ready, ma'am," Reeves reported. "We need to get within 200 meters for direct delivery." The Devourer Queen must have understood the threat now. Her vessel began to move, trying to retreat. But it was massive and slow. Indomitable was fast and desperate. "Weapons offline," the tactical officer reported. "Hull breaches on all decks. Life support failing." "We do not need life support," Sarah said. "We just need the engines." 100 meters. 50. 20. Prepare to launch payload. The Queen's vessel fired biological weapons, acid streams that ate through Indomitable's armor. The ship screamed as it died. Sections depressurized. Crew members were sucked into space. But Sarah kept her hands on the controls. "Launch now," she ordered. Reeves hit the button. A single missile fired from Indomitable's last working launcher. It crossed the gap in seconds and punched into the Queen's vessel. The virus payload deployed, spreading through the organic structure. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the Queen screamed. It was not a sound. It was a feeling that every living being in the system experienced. A psychic wail of pain and terror. The Devourer Queen was dying, and she knew it. The virus spread through the hive mind network faster than thought. Every devourer in the galaxy felt it. In the middle of battle, they suddenly stopped. Their coordination vanished. The hive mind collapsed. And then all at once, every devourer in the galaxy died. They simply stopped. Creatures that had been fighting seconds before went still. Ships drifted without power. The swarms that had terrified the galaxy fell apart. Silence fell across the battlefield. "Admiral," the tactical officer said quietly, "it worked. They are all dead. Every single one." Sarah looked at her display. The entire Devourer fleet showed no life signs, none. They had won. After 2 years of war, countless battles, and unimaginable sacrifice, they had won. "Broadcast to all Allied forces," she said. "The war is over. The Devourers are extinct. We won." Her crew cheered. Those who were still alive, anyway. Indomitable had lost 3,000 crew members in the final attack. But 2,000 survived. Sarah stood up from her command chair. Her legs shook. She realized she was crying. She did not remember when the tears started. "Get us home," she said quietly. The journey back took 3 weeks. Indomitable was barely space-worthy, held together by emergency welds and prayer. But it made it. They all made it. When they arrived at the staging area, the surviving fleet was waiting. Every ship flew its flags at full mast. Every crew member lined the viewports to watch Indomitable limp home. General Webb met Sarah at the docking bay. He looked older than she remembered. The war had aged them all. "You did it," he said simply. "We did it," Sarah corrected. "All of us. Everyone who fought. Everyone who died." Webb nodded. "The council wants to honor us, parades, monuments, medals." "I just want to go home," Sarah said. "I want to see Earth again. I want to remember what we were fighting for." The celebrations lasted for weeks. Every species threw parties. Every world declared holidays. The Devourers were gone. The galaxy was safe. But Sarah did not celebrate. She spent her time writing letters to the families of the fallen. There were so many letters. 50,000 from the strike force alone. Millions more from the entire war. She wrote to Michael Torres's family. She told them he was a hero. She told them his sacrifice saved the galaxy. She did not tell them that she still heard his last words in her dreams. 1 year after the war ended, the Galactic Council erected monuments. On every major world, statues of human soldiers stood tall. Memorial gardens were planted. Eternal flames were lit. The largest monument was on Earth in what used to be New York, a wall of names. Every human who died in the war, 2 billion names carved in stone. Sarah visited it once. She stood before the wall and read names until her voice gave out. She found Michael Torres. She found every member of her strike force. She found the 16-year-old volunteer from New Terra, who died defending her home. Ambassador Thelcor found her there. His crystalline body was repaired now, shining in the sunlight. "Admiral Chen," he said quietly, "the Council wishes to offer humanity leadership of the Galactic Alliance. Your species saved us all. You deserve to lead." Sarah looked at him for a long moment. Then she shook her head. "We did not do this for power," she said. "We did this because it needed to be done. Because someone had to stand up and fight. We are going home now. We need to rebuild, to heal, to remember how to be human again. But what if the galaxy needs you again?" Sarah smiled sadly. "Then you know where to find us. We will be here, ready to fight if necessary, but hoping we never have to." She left Earth a month later, not to fight but to explore. The galaxy was safe now. Time to see what peace looked like. 50 years later, Sarah Chen was an old woman. She had seen the galaxy rebuild. She had watched humanity heal. She had lived to see new generations grow up knowing only peace. She stood on the observation deck of a civilian transport, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, monuments remembered the war. Children learned about the Devourer conflict in history classes. But for them it was just history. They did not know the weight of command, the cost of victory. The names on the wall. Sarah was okay with that. She had fought so they would not have to. A young girl approached her, maybe 12 years old. "Excuse me, are you Admiral Chen?" "From the war?" Sarah nodded. "I was. A long time ago." "My teacher says you saved the galaxy." "No," Sarah said gently. "We all saved it. Every person who fought. Every person who sacrificed. I just got to come home." The girl smiled and ran off. Sarah watched her go and felt something warm in her chest. Hope, maybe, or peace. The galaxy was safe. Humanity had done its part. And now, finally, they could rest. She looked out at the stars one more time and whispered the words she said every day. "We did it. We held the line. Rest easy, all of you. Your fight is over." And somewhere, she liked to think, 2 billion souls heard her and smiled.